Welcome back to the Miscellaneous Debris Podcast. With me, your host, the Mad Chatter Ryan MK. Thank you once again for joining me, for listening. And do not forget to follow me on the Twitters at RMK Madness, the Grams, YouTubes, Mad Chatter Ryan MK. Check it all out. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuffs. Help a chatter out, man. Support me. And I'll bring you all the stuffs I can. Yes. Hope the week went well for all of you. Not too bad here for me. At the Madhouse MK. No, not too bad at all. Enjoyed a lot of sports. Except for the Nuggets losing. Again. Yeah. They've been down before, though. They've been down before. And what a fun Sunday in the NFL, but at the same time, a fucking bloodbath. Because, man, were there some fun games. But holy crap, there was also a lot of fucking injuries, man. Which I guess in hindsight, it isn't really that much of a surprise. Given, lack of training camp, no preseason. Hey, these guys weren't probably able to get in the best of football shape, I don't know. It's crazy. Injuries all over the place. Sunday, bloody Sunday. And if you're into fantasy football and that kind of thing, please check out my other podcast, Fantasy Madness, anywhere you can find this. And also, you can find articles that I write on the subject, meaning fantasy football, on playerprofiler.com. And of course, plenty of content pertaining to that you can find through the Twitter. And on YouTube, of course. So yeah. And it's that time of year. It's that time of year. The New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax. Now, I know there's probably a lot of people not into the pro-graps, as some of the kids say these days. I understand. It's not for everybody. But I don't want to hear any of that fake bullshit, okay? All right? I don't want to hear that shit. So if you don't care about pro wrestling, just bear with me for just a couple of minutes, or fast forward a couple of minutes. Because this will just take a couple of fucking minutes. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I've made my thoughts and feelings on WWE rather well known, right? I mean, well known enough to anybody who gives a fuck to pay attention to me, right? So I got a huge problem with the way they do business, the way they try and monopolize everything, the way they'll give certain wrestlers contracts, not to really give them a fair shot in the company, not to really give them TV time or anything. No. Just simply to keep them from another company. And to me, this is kind of some bullshit tactic right there, you know what I mean? Then there's the whole thing with Saudi Arabia. And let's just face it, McMahon supports Trump. In many ways, he's like Trump. He's an old, egomaniacal, narcissistic. I mean, I could probably keep going with the descriptive words there, but you know what I'm saying. Jackasses. Probably why they're friends. And on top of that, the product has been just falling off for a long time now. And they have their NXT brand, which has been pretty good over the years, but I don't even follow that anymore because I'm just done. I'm done with Vince McMahon. I'm done with the way they treat their workers. I'm done with how they don't give a shit what fans have to say, that a lot of the stuff that goes on is based on the whims of a fucking 200-year-old man who really is probably hanging on at this point. So, I don't know. I got issues with the WWE. So, since I started watching WWE less, it was like, what else to turn to? Well, a handful of years ago, I got into New Japan Pro Wrestling. And the more I got into that, the easier it was to watch less WWE. And then some of the guys from New Japan and some people from WWE combined forces to create AEW wrestling, and that's really helped fill the void. So now between New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW Wrestling, I really don't. Well, it's just AEW, because it'd be All Elite Wrestling. And New Japan Pro Wrestling. No, that was right. Anyway, I don't need WWE anymore. And now, we're at a point in time where normally, in a normal year, the G1 Climax would have already happened. But it's not a normal year. And really, quite honestly, this is not because of COVID. You see, they pushed back the G1 Climax tournament this year because the Olympics were supposed to be in Japan. The Olympics got canceled because of COVID, or delayed, whatever. But they kept the date the same, obviously. So, COVID situation, all of that, abnormal year, you get the G1 Climax in fucking September. Going into October. This is crazy. And with all the other sports back, it's like, normally I'm just waiting for more sports, and we spent all that time just waiting to get sports. And now it's like, bam, Stanley Cup Finals. Bam, NBA playoffs. Bam, NFL is here. Bam, G1 Climax. Bam, MLB playoffs around the corner. Hey, it's just tons of stuff. Tons of stuffs. Content for sports. And I really like it. Now, the G1 Climax, they take 20 of the more popular top wrestlers in the company and split them into 2 blocks, 10 apiece. Block A, Block B. It's a round-robin tournament, so every wrestler wrestles all the other wrestlers in the block. The best record in each block face each other in the final. And whoever wins gets a future title shot at the World Championship title. That's right. So it's a lot of fucking fun. And you know what? As I said, I don't want to hear this wrestling is fake bullshit, okay? And I saved this for last because of the people who don't like wrestling. Maybe you did fast forward, you came back, and I'm just going to say this and then I'm done. These motherfuckers that perform in that ring are all athletes. They also put in a lot of work. They also get hurt all the fucking time. Now, are they to the true extent beating the shit out of each other like in UFC? No. It's more of a fighting dance. It's choreographed. They work together. So I've always thought of it like that. It's like a choreographed fighting dance that's portrayed in the style of a match, a wrestling match with a storyline to it and everything. And I love that. I find it highly entertaining. Not everybody's into it, but you don't have to bash it. You don't have to call it fake. Because, yes, the results are predetermined. So there's no real winner because it's a predetermined winner. And I get that. But everything else, it's not fake, man. Yeah, maybe they're not punching each other in the face with the full force, but when you see them chop each other in the chest, those slaps on the chest, I mean, some of those dudes come out of there with fucking their chest looking like hamburger meat. You can't sit there and call this shit fake. Is it predetermined? Yes. Is it absolutely 100% real? No. But it's not fake. Some people. I've been watching a lot of that. I talked about it last pod. The NASA's Unexplained Files. And it's just crazy stuff. I talked about some of it before with Saturn's moon Titan. I think I talked about this on the last pod. About it potentially, how it seemed as though the sand dunes and they were like electrified. And they're thinking maybe there's giant electrified sandworms potentially on this fucking moon. And that's crazy. But you keep watching these shows, and it's not stuff that's widely talked about because it's pretty crazy ideas, right? But I saw this one, and it just made me go, oh, God, because I firmly believe there's much more to reality than what we see, and there's so many mysteries out there that cannot be explained. And if you really think about humankind's place in the universe, you have to really consider that there's got to be many more other civilizations out there. They could be so much different than us and more advanced. And, you just can't sit with the closed mind in this closed box that there's not more out there. I just don't believe that. Now, there's also the point where you can go too far and believe that just ridiculous shit is possible, and we'll get into some of that momentarily. You'll see what I mean. But I saw this one crazy NASA's Unexplained Files, and it was talking about Arwan, which is an object in the Kuiper Belt beyond Pluto, and Arwan is the name of the Celtic god of death. So, in some ways, kind of a crazy appropriate name, considering this thing, we don't know what the fuck this thing, okay, it blinks, essentially. It lights up, and it lights up at timed intervals, like exactly. It spins, it rotates, but it rotates in a manner that it goes around in 5.5 hours. So a day on that thing. Now, it also shut down NASA's probe that flew by it when it went to try and investigate it. And scientists are wondering, could there be something to the... Because you see, back in the day, NASA started to look into artificial gravity because they figure, if we're going to travel through space, the best way to do it, well, for humans, might be artificial gravity. And the way they thought of it is if you could create artificial gravity in a ship that was like a tube, and then it would just spin around, right? That would then help propel you through space, right? And then on the inside of the ship, in the spinning, you could have essentially a civilization. And they showed pictures of it. It's like a hollowed out ship, and it has all of these cities and different structures and everything going all around the tube. And it just spins, but it spins in a way that it creates its own gravity. So that essentially we have the gravity we need on this ship. But the ship can do what it has to. It's crazy. You really got to look into this. So scientists wonder if there's potentially an alien species that has something like this built inside this object. If this object is actually alien made. Because an alien species might be able to accomplish this, artificial gravity ship. It'd be hard for humans to really actually live on that, just based on our biology. We get sick, motion sickness. I mean, even if you spend enough time in that spinning, it fucks with you. So, they might have to go back to the drawing board for humankind, but for an alien species, it might not be impossible. It's just really crazy. It reminds me of that Oumuamua, that cigar-shaped rock that flew through here a couple years back. It was like 10 times long as it was wide. And there was a lot of scientists that said this could be something because of not only the trajectory that it was on, but the acceleration, the way it shot out. And, scientists are kind of starting to come to the conclusion that it was probably these little bursts of gas that are propelling it forward, and they didn't get any electrical readings. But, if you stay open-minded enough, you realize that some species, they might be able to, A, function without some sort of electronic signal. How the fuck do we know? B, they could jam it so that we can't read their signal. Some sort of defense. Who the fuck are we to know? 100 years ago, You would have been hung from a tree, branded as a witch if you tried talking about like iPhones and virtual technology. And there goes the fucking speaker. But it's insane. It's insane. There's so many mysteries in the world. And if you stay open-minded enough, like I said, you've got to admit that there's more out there than what we know, than what we see. That we can't be the only ones. And that really the question is exactly what else is out there? And what all has been here to visit us? And how long have they been here? Were they here in the days of the Egyptians who created the Great Pyramids? Were they here back then? And why? I think it's pretty clear shit's going on. Too much of it is coming out. With the military, everything. We now know. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and get into some conspiracy theories. Because as much as I love the idea of open-mindedness so that we can question things, question reality, question what else is out there, it also lends to extreme thinking, which leads to conspiracy theories, some of which are fun and interesting to talk about. Some even have some evidence to them. But I'll say once again, we've gotten to a point where they are starting to wear on me, and they are not fun anymore because everything's a goddamn conspiracy now. Seriously. All right. It's insane. It's insane how many things get turned into conspiracy theories nowadays. But let's talk about some of the most popular ones, and, if there's any ounce of truth to them or not. Yeah, conspiracy theories.
I am super duper serial.
Super duper serial. About conspiracy theories and how they drive me crazy nowadays, and I used to love them. And here's why I used to love them. I mean, first of all, it begins first and foremost with me. For those of you watching, if you see behind me the decoration, I'm into aliens. Yes, I'm into Alice in Wonderland. Hence the decorations and the mad chatter nickname and all of that. So I do love me some Alice in Wonderland, but I have a variety of interests. Aside from Alice in Wonderland and the Star Wars and the sports and the wrestling and all of that, I love aliens. And I've talked about it many times. Just the whole idea, because it fascinates me. What's out there beyond us? What has come to visit? Because I don't think you can deny it. That something else exists. And that it has been here at some point or another. I don't think that's really debatable anymore. So now, again, the question is, what is it? Where does it come from? What does it want? Those are the questions we need to ask, not if it truly exists. People keep focusing on there's no hard evidence. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence, I guess you could say, but not hard evidence. There's not a picture of any human being shaking hands with an alien that we know of. But you see, you hear stories about the Bob Lazar. The Bob Lazars of the world, I should say. And there's a lot of stuff about his story that just seems more and more credible by the day because of things that are coming out. And it seems like a very, very strong possibility that our government at one point in time, maybe still does, but that they had crashed UFO. That they had these things and were trying to reverse engineer them. And it makes sense they would keep it secret if they're trying to beat other countries such as Russia and China and places like that to this technology. Because, as many have stated, this is a leg up if you get this technology over other countries. Now, it's a goddamn shame that we got to view it like that and every country's got to get ahead of the other fucking country. It's stupid shit. We're all human beings. I digress. Bottom line is, there's a lot to the whole alien story, and more and more and more, we're seeing that this isn't bullshit. okay? Those of us who have believed for a long time have been looking for this. People can't really deny it. You can be an asshole, like, what is his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. You could be a bit of an asshole like him, and as smart as he is, can't look at the fact that with about 10 billion years before life was found on Earth, that's how long, the universe was around, and that's 10 billion years where life could have formed and evolved on any number of fucking planets. It just blows my mind. Someone so smart could be so close-minded. But I mean, from Area 51 to the Phoenix Lights, people have witnessed shit, they've seen shit, there's theories behind this stuff. There's a shit ton from Area 51, and these objects, the big conspiracy theory for this is that there's the government cover-up, which we've seen has been proven true. The Pentagon's came out and said, hey, they had a program that studied UFOs. Hello. And for anybody that wants to say, well, they're probably just test craft for our government or a different government, okay, but it's doing things that, as far as people know, we don't have that technology. And these things have been doing these for a while. And I could see how maybe nowadays some of the sightings could be government stuff, because maybe they are starting to unlock some of the secrets. But way back in the day, it's a worldwide phenomenon. You see shit like places like Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, there's crazy stuff that's happening all over the world. And not all governments are being as fucking shady about the information as ours is. They're just not. And so, you got to look at the evidence. Do we have pictures, actual pictures of little green men so we can say they're real? No. We've got a whole lot of cases of craft in the air doing crazy shit that they should not be able to do if they were here from Earth. This is the bottom line. Another popular conspiracy theory is the Kennedy assassination. This is a pretty interesting one. I mean, people wonder, did Oswald actually do it? Well, it was proven he did, but did he have associates? Was he hired by somebody? Was he possibly hired by the CIA because he was looking too much into the aforementioned UFO conspiracy theory? Or did they want to go after him because of his whole reaction to communism and whatnot? Or did the mafia put a head out on him? So it's interesting. A lot of it's been dismissed. I think the most likely one is, if you really look into the Kennedy stuff, he was doing a lot of digging, an awful lot of digging into the UFO subject. And around that time is when it would have appeared most sensitive, at least for our government's concern. And I could see maybe. Now, it's hard pressed to believe a nation would murder its own leader, but I think there's the scary thing about government is you get into the depth of government and all these different sectors, these dark sectors that, need such high clearance and all this. And, I mean, you've got these sectors just doing shit that very few people have the clearance to know what the fuck they're doing. It's a little shady, a little scary. So who knows? The 9/11 inside job, that's another one you look at, and this one I have a hard time believing. There's the idea that it was allowed to happen so that we could start a war with Iraq. This is during the Bush administration. And as much as I could see leadership doing things, like the Pearl Harbor attack, for example, there has been some rumors, some things to suggest that We might have known about that ahead of time, in time, to make a difference. But to get the American people behind going into World War II, we needed something like that. Because then, after the Pearl Harbor situation, Americans were more than ready to get involved in the war. So maybe I could see some. That seems to me more likely because it's a military installation. Not that no civilian people were harmed, because I believe there were some. I guess I was like, but that was a military attack. The Twin Towers was not a military attack. That was a straight-up terrorist attack on innocent civilians. The government would have to be some evil motherfuckers. I mean, to let Pearl Harbor happen. But I think there's proof of that through history of governments, military leaders sacrificing military for a greater purpose. So, again, that one wouldn't be as shocking. Be shitty, but not shocking. The 9/11 one, to me, would be shitty and shocking. But again, there's got to be more to reality. The 9/11 one, I have a harder time believing. You know, they talk about the steel beams and how the jet fuel and the flame, it wouldn't have been enough to melt the steel beams. Whatever. That one's tough to believe. But moving on, the moon landing is one I find a little more... I used to find a little more believable, I should say, because there is some interesting things with the moon landing one. Like in the photos, there's a lot of stuff with those photos, and you can tell they've been doctored. Some of those photos of the moon landing, they've been fucked with. It's pretty evident. There's even some, they would put the little X, little marks on the, well, it's more like a plus, but they put the marks on the lens of the camera. You'd have some pictures that look like they were in front of this X. How does that happen? So, there's a lot of stuff when you look at the pictures, and then there's people that give some explanations and whatnot, but there is some stuff there. But I don't think, anymore at least, that it's because they didn't go to the moon. Oh, I think they went to the moon. I think it's because there was some other shit there with them. And that's why pictures were altered. Things seemed off and odd. Because if you think about it, and you look into this whole situation, there's about 2 minutes missing from the audio for this moon trip. Now, they claim it was like, I think they went offline to talk to something, whatever. There was plenty of ham radio operators that picked up on this missing 2 minutes of audio. And it's very clear you can hear Bob Armstrong, Bob Armstrong? Did you hear one of the astronauts, Neil Armstrong? God damn. But you hear one of the astronauts clearly say, yeah, we can see them. They're in a crater. They're watching us. I'm sorry, you can call that whatever. That is fucking amazing evidence. That's clearly the astronaut on the mission, same voice and all, saying they're in a crater on the moon watching them. What the fuck? What's watching you, bro? And then Armstrong gets back from this moon mission. He's kind of a different person. He goes on this journey through a jungle in what fucking continent was it? Damn it. But through this crazy ass jungle to find the Golden Library that's apparently buried deep within this jungle in a cave, and it has these golden books, and it talks all about, like, it's supposed to be insane. It sounds fantastic. It sounds insane. That's another conspiracy theory. I hope that one is true. So what this all says to me is, they went to the moon. The reason some things look funny, appear funny, seem funny, is because, well, they are, because they had some visitors. Well, maybe they were the visitors. We'll just say they had company while they were on the moon. And I think that is a large part of what's going on with that one. And then, of course, one of the big ones, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, things like that. People that control the world in the shadows, working with reptilian extraterrestrials. They're going to create the New World Order and aim for totalitarian control. They had bases on the moon. They would snatch kids out of their beds, put them through tests, and then they would do these, what they would call 25 and back. And basically, you get taken and you'd become part of this force that would work on the moon, in space, for 25 years. And then they'd make you young again. I know, it gets crazy. They make you young again, and you live the rest of your life. But you still spent 25 years working in space. It sounds insane. But you listen to some of the witnesses talk about, or the victims wouldn't be the right word, but you hear some of these people talk about this stuff, and it's pretty interesting. And a lot of different people that have had these kinds of experiences say very much the same kinds of things. So it's eerie. It's eerie. Now, do I honestly believe that specific thing is true? I don't know. Not necessarily all that. There's some evidence that there's some crazy shit in Antarctica, like in the ice. And that'd be great places for these lizard people to live. Dig down deep enough. It gets hot. You just got to look into some of these kids because they are interesting to think about. And while you don't have to buy into any of it, and you probably shouldn't buy into much, there's some interesting stuff there. And it definitely can get your brain going because you can take it. Motherfuck, it happened again. Oh, my bad, people. My bad. That is 2 times I've interrupted myself by the speaker turning off, whatever. But it really is. You can open up your mind and come up with different ideas, like the Illuminati one. I don't know if all of that is necessarily, and the Freemasons, and because there's a bunch of former leaders, presidents, etc., that are apparently Freemasons, like George W. Bush. But this goes back to George Washington. It's crazy. And I do think there could be something like that, where there is some sort of group in the darkness, maybe even working with aliens that's kind of working to control. I could see some of that. The 25 and back thing is just, even though there's some interesting stuff there, yeah, it's hard, man. That's because how do you make someone young again? And if they had the ability to do that, wouldn't they all just keep making themselves? It's weird. It's weird. It's so weird. But you have to open your mind to the possibility, again, that there's a lot more to reality than we realize. And as much as, I used to really be into conspiracy theories and now it's turned into such, because it's become so muddied up that not only is everything a conspiracy theory, but it seems like so many of them are tied to Trump, and Trump somehow being the savior. Yeah, QAnon believes there's a pedophile ring run by Hillary, and Trump's going to bring it all down. Like, do people not realize? Again, we go back to finding out about... Oh, no, we'll get into that. I almost got it. I almost got ahead of myself. But these people who want to believe this kind of stuff, they're just grasping, right? Well, because what about Trump says savior? It's so fucking weird, man. It's so weird. So again, you got to be careful with the conspiracy theories because now they're just getting out of hand and all of that. But I do think it's important to remain open-minded. It is. And to, realize the extent of reality is probably beyond what we know. So just keep your eyes open. Pay attention. And think for yourself. I've said that plenty of times before. I just mainly, just don't believe Trump's our savior. Just don't do that. Speaking of that fake savior Trump, let's get into the Trump.
You suck, you jackass.
Yes, he does suck. Excuse me, a little puff as we continue the show. A little puffy puff as we get into the Trumpy dump. Now, some crazy shit this week. Or this week. Again, some believe that Trump is going to save us from the Illuminati and end Clinton's pedophile ring. Yeah, they're fucking idiots, right? But, according to Trump, because you see, he was in Minnesota doing a rally recently, and according to him, the mostly white crowd who was not wearing masks, good people with good genes. People got good genes. So the white people that aren't listening to science, they've got great genes. Ooh. He also mentioned there, Robert E. Lee would have won if it weren't for Gettysburg. He's just, it's almost blatantly racist. How he has any support. We're going to get to that. Certainly, anybody who's in a minority group, you can't be serious about voting for this asshole. If you are, you're fucking stupid. I'm sorry, you're fucking stupid. It's blatantly obvious. If you know fucking anything, what he's trying to do. And if he gets elected another 4 years, oh shit, that first year, he's going to do all sorts of shit because he's going to know he can. Just like with this fucking 1776 commission shit. He wants to sit there and claim that Democrats are taking away history by trying to remove Confederate. Yes, they are the shitty part of our history, and we're not trying to forget about it. We're saying, hey, let's not celebrate it. Why are you celebrating Robert E. Lee? He was the leader of the Confederates. Yeah, we're trying to take away the history. Meanwhile, you're developing this order, the 1776 Commission, to rewrite history, essentially, and to act like there was never racism, that America's great, it's always been great, even though you said, make America great again. You people suck. You suck. That's why you fucking idiots walk around talking about, if you don't like it, get out of our country, but make America great again. It's not about the true argument. It's about white supremacy to them. It's about this is their, and it's funny how they act like this is their fucking country when it was taken from Native American Indians. It's just idiocy. I mean, can you imagine if Germany was just like, oh yeah, that Nazi shit? Nah. It's cool. It's cool. It's just part of our, grand heritage and all that. Bullshit. Can you imagine that, though? But it's a lot of this is also not surprising. I mean, these are the same kind of hypocritical fucks who sit there and want to bash China and talk about their treatment of Hong Kong and the Hong Kong protesters and say, we support Hong Kong. Yeah. But then, what do they say about America's protesters? How are you defending fucking... I know what Hong Kong's going through. I fully support them. But how can the American government be behind those protesters and then act like ours are thugs and rioters and looters and bad people? Fuck off. It does, I mean, and they want to denounce the protesters so much so that they've labeled New York City, Portland, and Seattle as anarchist. The Justice Department has done this. I'm sure on behest of Trump. They've named those cities anarchist jurisdictions. And they're threatening to cut off federal aid to them. It's just, yuck. Yuck these fucking people. And fuck those fucking people too. And you see, I found out something that makes a lot of sense pertaining really to all of this Trump stuff. Because you see, it turns out a majority of Trump's base is non-college educated white people. Oh, it makes so much fucking sense now. It makes so much sense. The anti-science, the anti-intellectualism, the anti-diversity. Oh, it makes sense. Because they're all fucking idiots. Uncultured morons. And this is who Trump's appealing to, because it would seem he's the grand master of them all. Uncultured morons, you know. So it makes fucking sense. I mean, it makes sense. These people are the ones to support him, so. Right? Because they're too stupid to realize what he's doing. Or they're too, you know, morally bankrupt to care. Because they still have Neanderthal brains and that caveman thinking. It's just that you see this shit on display. You saw it recently in North Carolina. Well, you saw the love Trump was getting in Minnesota from those in attendance. More than there should be. And in North Carolina recently, got this Black Lives Matter protester, white lady standing out there. And a Trump hate convoy comes by. And it's funny how it's mostly fucking trucks because gotta have a truck to make up for the penis size. Right, dickheads? And they get driving through in their big trucks with their American flags and their Confederate flags hanging out the back of them and yelling shit out the window like fuck black lives and, you know, stupid, ignorant shit like that. Yeah. Fucking cool people, right? Cool people. Cool fucking people. This is why we gotta vote. This is why we gotta vote. And it's going to be crazy because these fucking people, they've already been ousted, right? Their support for Trump has brought them into the limelight as fucking idiots, racists, and more. So, hey, I guess Trump did something, right? He let us know who all these fucking assholes were. Yeah.
Game over, man. Game over.
Yes. Let's go ahead. Close up shop. Close up shop. Get the hell out of here. I need some foods anyway. It's funny. I think I always need food after the pod. It's like the podcasting. Yeah. It works up quite the appetite, I think. Never realized talking would do that so much. But despite how much I talk in general, I do talk a lot on these pods, I tell you what. Anyway. Reminder, folks, okay? COVID, it's not going away anytime soon, okay? Any hope of vaccine in October? Fucking crazy. Fucking crazy. It's not going to be, even if it is here, a vaccine and a workable one, even if it is here by the end of the year, we aren't even prepared to distribute it. That's part of the problem. Then they don't have a plan to get everything. So for it to become widely available, it's going to be even more time. So they can go get the fucking vaccine ready. Maybe they'll have it by the very end of the year, but are they really going to be able to get it to everyone? 2021, guaranteed. We're not getting it till then. And as we pass over 200,000 cases, doctors fear for an apocalyptic fall. They feel too many places that we're dealing with, surges of the virus. Too many of those places were opening up schools and colleges and restaurants. And the more and more they're finding out, this is an airborne thing. Like, being inside with lots of other people is a shit fucking idea. It's a great way to get this, even if you're wearing a mask. Because the masks only do so much. And if I want those work better. But still, you're still risking it. Because these indoor places with lack of ventilation, it's another reason people want to go and sit there and blame the fucking protesters for these surges in cases. And it's like, I'm sure they've played a small part. But this is outside, first of all. And 99.9% of the ones I saw were wearing fucking masks. So they're doing their part. Hanging out inside a bar to simply get drunk when you can do that at home. And doing so without a mask, like, inside, no ventilation. Like, I just don't get it. Just don't. Be smarter, people. Please. Because coming this fall is likely another wave of corona. And then we're going to have our annual flu season. This could be a double whammy. The virus may have mutated something fierce by then, and even if it hasn't, even if it's still what it is now, that's scary. And then you think about the potential for all this to be going on at once. How if someone were to get both the flu and COVID, what happens then? The fear that hospitals will be, and the healthcare system will be overrun. And it's a shame. Because another fascist type move, some of the shit Trump's done where he's, according to him, saving money and not wasting money on certain projects or whatever, but he's taken away money from climate change research. He's taken money away from, or money, supplies, whatever it may be, what he's taken away from in general. Again, climate change resources, as well as healthcare resources, right? Pandemic resources. Got rid of a pandemic team. He's taken away all this stuff from shit that actually matters. But if you look at his fucking police force, again, look at the amount of PPE our doctors have to, look at what they're dealing with. You look at other countries, those doctors and nurses are fucking decked out. It's a shame what our healthcare workers have to deal with during this pandemic. But you look at the fucking police who are dealing with protesters, majority of which were peaceful, especially at the beginning. Oh, they're fucking decked out. They got everything they need to handle peaceful fucking protesters. But doctors, nurses fighting a pandemic, no. You guys get what we got. That's some bullshit. It is. It is just, the whole thing is frustrating. That's why, again, we got to get these people the fuck out of there. Starting with Trump. But I digress. Let's get a little humor. Let's try and get a few chuckles in before we get out of here. Now, I did, on the last pod, debut a segment called Twiddle Dum Dums. And I do plan on continuing that. But I didn't find quite enough idiocy to get one for this week. So I was gonna, just the little couple things I did find, I was gonna save them for Friday's pod for the and do the segment then. But I went ahead and, aside from the little bit of fun with the conspiracy theory stuff we had, it's been pretty heavy, right? And a lot of episodes lately have been. And I apologize. I try and get them more humorous, but again, it's so hard. There is so much crazy shit going on in the world right now. You just can't ignore it, and you can't not talk about it. It's too important. But let's get to a little humor before we go, because if you didn't see, there was a nice little table read put together for Fast Times at Ridgemount High. If anybody remembers, might be dating myself a little bit there, even though I was pretty young when that came. I just happened to... Anyway. Excuse me. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Sean Penn's in it. Sean Penn was at the table read, as was Brad Pitt. Morgan Freeman was there. There was Ray Liotta was there. There were some guys there. And Shia LaBeouf was there. And he was doing his portion of the table read in his car. And he looked fucked up. He started talking about... you just have to go watch this. Now, me personally, I would love to find the whole version of this table read, because it looks, just from the little Shia LaBeouf part, it looks like they had a lot of fun doing it, and it looks like it'd be fun to watch. It really does. So I'm going to have to find out where I can see the whole version of that. But definitely, just hop on Twitter, put Shia LaBeouf. It's great. It's great. He's actually doing Sean Penn's part, and... that dude. Dude's overcome a lot. Let's give him some props. Hopefully that's not him getting back into some shit. Hopefully that's just some marijuana. Or maybe that was just some acting. But it's funny shit. Because he does. He looks... I love it. Yeah. Shia LaBeouf of Transformer fame. And moving on. So... got a couple of interesting women to talk about. One decided to send a letter to President Trump that was laced with ricin, a poison. So a poison letter. And, of course, I get it. I get it. I don't think that would solve all the problems, but I get why one might want to. But... that's a terrible way to try and... and then on top of that, how easily you're going to get... so she's caught. And she's been arrested. And she's going to go bye-bye for a long time, I imagine. And if this whole Trump fascist thing turns into truth and reality, that bitch, who knows? She could get hung in the center square. I shouldn't say bitch, because I can understand what the motivation, but... whew. Anyway, another woman fell out her fucking window, a car window, on an interstate because she was trying to do some Snapchat bullshit. Lucky she didn't get fucking smoked by an oncoming vehicle. It's a hilarious video. Again, get on the social media, check it out. You might have seen it, but there's some stupidity, a little bit of tweedledum-dumness for you on the pod. And... that's about what we got. It's been a little bit longer of a pod. But hey, I had a good time. Even though we got into a lot of serious shit. Hey, it's a fun pod. Hope you all enjoyed it. And thank you again for joining me. As always. Because I do appreciate the shit out of everybody who follows, who listens, who watches, whatever. I hope I'm giving you some sort of entertainment. Hope you appreciate what I'm doing. And, I'm going to keep doing it. So for those that appreciate it, hey, I appreciate you, bros and sisters. And yeah, I think that's what we got. So, everybody, have a great and wonderful week. Keep the important shit at the front of your mind, like I've said before. But enjoy yourself. Again, sports, G1 Climax, pro wrestling, pro graps, as the kids say these days. Lots of stuff to get into. Ah, yes. So, enjoy yourself, do what you gotta do, and keep what's going on in the world, particularly our country, keep it at the forefront of your brain. Got to. Too important not to. But really, please do have a great week. Thank you again for joining. I much appreciate it. I do. I'm the Mad Chatter. This has been Miscellaneous Debris. Do not forget to follow me on the Twitters and the Grams at RMK Madness. And check me out on the tubes, all that good stuff. As always, much love to all. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, great. Hitting the end of the pod. Now I'm really starting to fuck up what I'm talking about and saying. And as always, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay mad. Yes, that's right. It's been a bit of a long one. So we're just going to go ahead and get the hell on out of here. Thank you very much again. Ta-ta for now. Laters.